Hi, good morning, everybody.
Hello, hi.
And let's welcome Aditya Shukla, our guest today.
Hey,
So,
how are you all?
Aditya Shukla is a blogger, he's a musician, he's an avid student and an expert in applied psychology. He has been part of a heavy metal band that he put together. So he's many things. He's many things. He's a very multifaceted young man that we are most privileged to welcome in our studio today.
Thank
Aditya, how
you for
are
such a
you?
generous introduction, Deepa. Thanks, it's really nice. I'm really happy to be here.
So cognition today
Right.
is, I think, 2 years old.
Yeah, it just got 2 years old, September 6th.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's
Tell
pretty cool,
me
you know.
that moment. Tell me that moment when you decided that you would be putting together cognition today.
Oh wow, so it really wasn't a single moment. You know, like if we trace back to my whole story, around 2017, I got into writing a lot on this platform called Quora. And I used to have this very casual blog with my own name, like, Aditya Shukla 101 type. It was just like a random musing sort of a blog where I would put down thoughts which I was interested in. And then, I thought I would love to make money while I'm sleeping because I'm enjoying writing and maybe I can milk some long term revenue out of it. That's when I
Yeah.
thought, you know what, maybe this might be a good idea because this whole blogger lifestyle allows me to have a lot of flexibility,
Yeah.
and that's a lot of fun and something which I always desired, like the flexibility to expand in any way I like, to have this control over your own career. All of that was just like aligning, like if you write, if you enjoy writing, if you enjoy doing the research, but you have to like struggle and do it all yourself. That whole grind, it was all there. So it was very exciting to just get to it. So just around September, it was like, let's drop the idea of a casual blog, let's get serious about it.
Yeah.
So let's buy a domain and let's set it up.
So why the name cognition and then adding the today to it? I think cognition is a certain continuum. So the moment you bring in
Right.
a today, you are juxtaposing two which seemingly don't go together. So I'm curious.
That's a really cool observation. And there's actually not a very legit reason. Okay, it's a legit reason. Well, cognition was not available for purchase. And I did not want to go for
Uh,
something like cognition.org.
so while Aditya comes back on air, I must tell you all that if you haven't seen the cognition website, you should go and take a look at it. The Cognition website, they have issues coming out every fortnight. This is the latest issue, I think, that came out last week, which gives us amazing resource material on stuff that you will want to find on applied psychology, learning, thinking, cognition. It's got some great pieces that you will find very exhaustively researched, very well documented and put together, supported with evidence. I'm just enjoying browsing through the Cognition Today website, and you should as well. So, the funnest part for me, thanks, the funnest part for me is all the preparation that goes in to understand my guest. Yes, Aditya, we just showed the viewers the issue of Cognition Today, your
Oh,
last issue.
lovely. Yes.
So they've seen, and I'm telling them that they should go and check out your website because it's so cool. So much interesting stuff. So tell us, so Cognition Today came because just Cognition wasn't available, is it?
Yeah. And I wanted to make it, the name needed to be something which could scale to a very high level. Like, I wouldn't want it to be limited to something I'm just personally interested in. It should be able to really scale up and become a large brand, a very trusted brand. So, in line with a lot of other things which have the word today in it, which focus on news as well as long form content, I thought, let's follow in the footsteps. People are already used to that impression. So the whole idea was to have a vision of something that could scale 10 years later. Like set things in motion today, which unfold 10 years later into big, exciting rewards.
And the C and T on your branding,
Right,
those dots,
right.
is that created by a professional? You created it? Who created that logo for you?
Oh, yes. So there's a friend of mine, Sham. He actually helped me. He's a professional now. So he helped me out with the logo and we were brainstorming and we wanted something simple. Plus, if you notice the tiny whitish dots between the C and D, that is something
Yes.
which is from the psychology side. I mean, it doesn't really imply psychology, but it creates this after image if you stare at it and look elsewhere. So I found that fascinating, and because the brain is doing that, and I'm writing about the brain, I thought, let's just uh, add some congruent element about how our brain works into the logo. So you could stare at the logo, and you will see the dots there, and it's only the right color that does it. So we sat, we
Amazing,
discussed,
amazing.
we both liked it, went for it.
So cool. Aditya, you've got so many passions, but I'm just going to hone
Right.
in to know, what are those three big passions that give you all the adrenaline to go through your day?
Oh, yes. Okay. So psychology, anything new coming up and reading psychology is one of those passions, definitely. The second passion, I think, is something that's been there with me since 10 years of age, and that's music. Like, I've been a guitarist and a guitar teacher too, and I've tried to innovate on that side. So, even career wise, hobby wise, it's been a part of me. So, that's definitely passion number two. Passion number three, I think, is to take on challenges which I'm yet to actually predictably succeed at, and one of them is coding. And it's not just any sort of coding. The idea of learning Python was basically to, interact with a computer and get comfortable using a computer and help it solve day-to-day problems. Plus a couple of other side projects where, big ideas like entrepreneur side, visions I had, never materialized, of course. But with those visions, I was motivated to, let me solve this problem. How do I solve it? Okay, let's pick up Python. Let's study it, let's work on it, let's screw up and then figure it out. If it works, go for it. So I think Python was one of those long-term passions. I would still probably spend more time doing something automated on Python just for fun than manually try to do something because that's exciting.
Awesome. So, Aditya,
Yeah.
when you decided to take your hobby and make it into a profession, I love the
Hmm.
way you said that you were thinking scale. So, who was
Right.
the target audience? Where did they come from? What was in your mind? Who were you creating this Cognition Today website for? I don't know whether we've lost Aditya again. I think we have. So Aditya tells me that he does a lot of his work, pretty much through the day, and it continues. He's tried a startup that wasn't successful, but what that was in the space of learning. So things which are in the space of thinking, learning. Yeah, Aditya.
Yeah, hi. So, yeah, I'm not sure if it's the internet. It's showing full range here.
So Aditya,
Yeah.
uh, so tell me, I was just asking you, saying,
Hmm.
and I'm trying to see who's your TG here because you
Right.
created this site, you wanted it to become big, you wanted
Right.
to have heft and authority. Who were
Right.
you writing this for?
So the first audience was on Quora. The same audience which used to read my answers that got me motivated to write. That was the audience I thought I would write for. But then that audience is on Quora, so I needed to build an independent audience. And that audience is all over the internet. as long as you're mildly curious about something about psychology or something about the brain, I would say that you are target audience. There's no age bar because I think anything above 13 or 12 years of age is comfortable legally across the world on my site. Of course,
Yeah.
there are laws for under 13, so I wouldn't claim it's meant for them. But the language is supposed to be simple, although I cannot guarantee it's always simple. Sometimes I get too carried away with complexity. But yeah, ideally it's written for anyone who's even mildly curious about psychology. Primarily, it's English. I do not have any regional language, so that will be scaling up again in the future. But right now, it's English-speaking countries, and also works out monetary wise.
So your revenue stream is what, Aditya?
It's the website. I saw ads on it, and I'm an affiliate with Amazon. So if someone makes a purchase from my website, it brings me a small commission. So it's a very passive income sort of a thing. There's nothing behind the paywall, which I really like because I hate paywalls for academic content.
Awesome. So Aditya, were you did many things. So
Hmm.
academically, since you're such a strong thinker, you tinker. So you're a thinker and you're a tinkerer. So I think
I like that.
play on words. You're thinking, you're doing. Tell
Right.
me how your brain works. Tell me how you process. Tell me how you apply. What makes you an applied psychologist?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so applied psychologist is something of a brand identity which I adopted over iterations of what to call myself. I could call myself a psychologist, I could call myself a blogger or author. But the reason I would say applied is because my goal is to not just like dispense information which comes from academia. I want to make sure that I can use it in some way that benefits someone anywhere, not just on the internet.
And what's the kind of you know uh, response, feedback, engagement that you get from your readers, Aditya? Do they make you, provoke you to do new articles? Has that been the stimulation for you to go do, take up topics that you want to explore in subsequent issues?
Sometimes that does happen. In fact, I have written a couple of articles only because my best friend asked me a question and I didn't have any answer. And I thought maybe the internet needs a proper answer to that question. So that's one motivation. Then I've written one article because of one comment on Reddit, which was like an alternate explanation.
I mean, that's so cool. That's so
Excuse me for
cool.
that.
So you're saying that that interaction is actually also fueling thought process.
That's
But
right.
where does your inspiration come from? Where do you look for, uh, you know, grist for your mill, so to say, the next and the next and the next issues?
All right. So this actually brings me to my end goal. So one of the things I really wish for is to create some sort of a unified theory in psychology. And this is something in the future. I know I can't do that right now, but I need to dip my hands in every water in psychology to see how it feels on the finger.
That's so ambitious. So it's a pity we are going on and off, but I think you're sort of getting the drift of how this young man is so inspired by the brain, its workings, curious enough to do so much of research that when I was having this conversation, Aditya, I was just telling my
Right.
audience how fascinated it is to listen to your curiosity and this whole mega ambition of getting all of this on on the brain coming together.
Yeah, I really want to get things together, and something that inspires me, all these big physics people, they ponder these deep questions. They are at the top of their field, and they have some uh, amazing way of communicating those ideas. Like if you look at Brian Cox on YouTube or even Vsauce or another channel called Veritasium, they bring in these big ideas together, make them accessible, and it just fascinates you. That's what I want to do with psychology. But in the process, I want to build that thing which kind of unifies. So with that in the future, it already motivates me. So you could call that my inspiration. It's something abstract in the future.
So, Aditya, we've been exploring through these many conversations that we've had. And
Right,
in these COVID times, you are seeing a lot of stuff happening around, and that has
right.
also motivated you to think and explore what are the commonalities between creativity, anxiety, society, space. So maybe you want
Right,
it's a big question to ponder about.
right.
And, maybe
You
you
know,
give a small glimpse of that. Some
sure. This has actually become my favorite question I did not ask. I had to think about even making this question just because it can be made, and I had a vague idea that there is an answer to this. So let's look at this. You are in space, and you look at Earth. What do you see? You see a sphere, something circular. It has these blue, white, green, brown gradients. But you stand at your door and you try to look at Earth, what do you really see? Just the few meters next to you, a couple of buildings. So what we are actually looking at here is something called as psychological distance. Just like you being on the moon and looking at Earth, or you being on, say, a ship towards Jupiter and looking back at Earth, you are in a mental ship that traverses a distance. And that distance can be measured from anything that you can imagine, anything in your real world, anything everywhere. So you can have this distance between people, you can have this distance between versions of yourself. You can also have this distance with an object in your head. For example, this laptop right now, the one I'm using, that's on one level a computing device. On another level, it's just a mode of communicating this video to you.
yes.
But it's also something which can work as a game platform. So what I'm trying to say here is that you can process, just a minute.
So when Aditya was telling us about some of these things in our earlier conversations, we kept meandering and going through so many paths because each of these strands of the work that Aditya does. Yeah, Aditya, I was telling
Yeah.
the audience about how every strand of your thought can become one talk in itself or a talk. And we know that it's not a blog, so we can't
Right.
write an
Yeah, we
article,
can go
but we can
endlessly.
get these little snippets. So please go.
Right. Okay. So let's look at one application of the psychological distance. What's common between creativity, society, anxiety, and space? It's distance and it's called construal levels. Construal represents something that you construe or understand. The level is at which level are you processing something. So are you looking at something at a very abstract, deep level, or are you going on details? Let me give you an example. From Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you see how Terry speaks. Terry loves yogurt, or Terry hates something else. He uses his own name to refer to himself. Do you know what he's really doing while doing that? He's creating distance between his own mental image and his identity. That separation reduces the emotional intensity of whatever you are experiencing. So there's actually a hack about this. If
Uh-huh. This reminds us to the time when we talk to our toddlers saying, Mama just told you not to do a particular thing, or Rahul is feeling a certain way. So these are ways in which we create that little distance.
Right.
Yes.
Distance actually helps a lot. You can always address yourself as, Aditya is terrified. Aditya can go through this. When you use your own name, it becomes less overwhelming because distance, the further it is, the less overwhelming it is. The fewer details you fixate on. The same thing can happen in creativity, by the way. If you want to get creative and if you want to go abstract and join large networks of ideas in your own head, go deep. Process something at a fundamental level with further distance, like looking at a large scale idea. Your phone is not just a device where you WhatsApp, it's a computer. Treating it like a WhatsApp machine narrows your mental connections of what your phone can do. WhatsApp will create a creative jump to Messenger, Telegram, maybe email, Facebook. But if it's a computing device, you can make a mental network far easier to other things like a laptop, a computer, a supercomputer, a smartwatch, all other gadgets. So when you are actually looking at the deeper level, you have a wider network. And that's where distance, increasing the distance helps with creativity. Higher the distance, more the abstract, the deeper you process, and the wider your network is. In society, this happens too. So I can say I am Aditya, that's my identity. That means my distance with myself is just here. But if I say I am someone's boyfriend, or I refer to someone as this is my girlfriend, what I'm doing is I'm focusing on a relationship. That's my distance. But there's one more distance which is very exciting and it's new. It's what a lot of people have taken up. This is called the meta-personal distance. And you know what's exciting about meta? It does not limit our humans. You can be one with sand, you can be one with technology, you can feel your presence in nature. All of that comes together as one single cluster. So there's no distance between the elements of the universe and yourself. So that's what's common, distance of how you represent things in your head and how you represent things in your head again.
So cool. I love the way you say meta. You make it sound so, from my perspective, it's sounding very, very spiritual.
It is actually, metapersonal becomes spiritual for a lot of people.
So Aditya, there's a,
Hmm.
viewer who's asking, is Aditya
Right.
considering studying further? So I do the same thing that I asked you a couple of times, saying, Aditya, what about PhD?
Right. So, okay, there are two ways to answer this question. One is I'll always be studying something, whether it's semi-formally or casually. I won't say formally because it's actually unlikely that I'll get back to academics because I love this broad way of approaching a topic. I might collaborate, which I sometimes do in academia, but I don't think I'm going to really go that academic track anymore because this I think I've converged. I think I've diverged from that point of view. Like 2015, I wanted to do a PhD. I tried. I did not get through in some colleges in the US, and then a couple of career jumps happened for whatever reason. And not whatever reason, of course, I wanted to like show I'm great and stuff. But yeah,
Like,
so that led to a startup, which did not work either. So then I became a little more real. But yeah, I don't think I'm really going to go back to academics as such, but I will continue studying in some form or the other.
and Aditya, tell us
Yeah.
about how your work is
Hmm.
actually part of a lot of citations of academic papers. So, you know, that's a cool, how shall I say, achievement for someone who in 2015 was thinking that I didn't get into the school of my choice. Okay, let me not do this. Let me go do a startup instead. And today is writing stuff which is part of what is getting quoted, right, Aditya? Your work is
Yeah.
getting quoted.
So that's actually a really pleasant surprise because I did not know that this is something I could actually see since I'm not an academic. But that actually is a proof of concept that if I'm writing something and producing thought or applications of was already out there, someone somewhere in the world thinks it is valuable enough to attach to their own work and publish it somewhere. Like I have no communication. I don't know who these people are, but there's someone who thought something I said was useful. So that's like great motivation for me. And knowing that I've been in papers now and even cited in a few books, it's pretty exciting that I think my scaling vision actually is happening, it's unfolding.
Amazing. So tell me about what a typical day in Aditya Shukla's world look like.
So I wake up at 1 o'clock on most days, 1 p.m. Today is like early and very different. So that's why my hair is also still wet because I had my shower, didn't have enough time to dry it. So I wake up at 1 o'clock, I sleep at 5 a.m. on most days. I'm trying to slightly change that, but that's been my routine for a couple of years. I spend 3 or 4 sessions with my laptop in short bursts of work. In the background, I'm playing guitar, doing something on my phone, doing all those peripheral tasks about blogging like social media, replying to people, emails, reviewing my own content, making mental notes of what else to add to my content in the future. So actively think about it. So in a way, I'm always working, but I'm also pretty much always free. So it depends on in the moment what position I want to really take there. And I can say I'm busy, but I can also say I'm not busy at that point. Rest of it is pretty normal, like nothing exciting happening right now. Well, this conversation is exciting. The rest of the day is not that exciting, lockdowns.
So Aditya, you studied math, you were doing music, yeah, you talked about physics. So that's like really fast science. And when I say
Hmm.
music, it's the arts, of course. And then you take up psychology for your masters. Yeah. So you've done very eclectic things, made these choices which are fairly, in quotes, non-standard choices.
Right.
What kind of support? I mean, were your parents worried? Were they like, क्या कर रहे हो? I'm very curious to find that out about the kind of support Aditya's had from his parents to make these very eclectic career choices, work choices, study choices, um, and he's got obviously the space to explore, to create something like he says of value. He's got the space to make mistakes, to reinvent himself, and we all heard he's also had his share of disappointments and setbacks with that PhD of his school of choice not coming through. So let's hear from Aditya.
Yeah. Uh, so I think in 12th standard, the defining moment where most students think their career in life is set was actually a pretty bad year for me. I was a horrible, horrible student to the point where I wanted to skip 12th standard because I was rebelling against uh, being in a uniformed college. So that rebellion actually drove me to have different choices. I wasn't a bad student in 10th standard and 11th standard, but 12th was really the time where I rebelled. So I got into science specifically with the vision to do math because I love to do something abstract. I mean, I think you're sensing a theme over here. I'm really fond of things that are abstract. So math was one of those. And I thought, you know what? I would love to just think and solve some problem over here. It's exciting, but here I am rebelling too. So 1 year of doing BSc was enough for me. I did not want to wake up and go for practicals. The whole rebellion was there, and the musician inside me was just like, coming out. And I wanted to be a rock star, of course. So all the time I would paint my nails black and like be a complete go in that phase. It is ridiculous, definitely ridiculous, but I think that they were formative moments. So I did all of that and I dropped out because I couldn't handle the desynchronized vision over there. Discipline, get into practicals, give it a complete 100% there, and become a musician on the side. I don't think I could handle it back then. So I dropped out. I joined arts. 1 year of arts, I'm like, okay, I can handle this. This is good enough. I can manage both things. Let me push my musician side while arts happens on the side. I did that. Second year, I got lucky. The last person on the second list of admission to the psychology department, I found my name. So any other student with even one single mark above me, I wouldn't have gotten through. I would have had to gamble on a third list, which is not really reliable. So that happened. I got lucky there. It wasn't until 3 years later into my master's where I actually got interested in psychology. And once the obsession developed, that's when I took it forward. So I think it was just playing around with ideas before that. Wouldn't say it was like driven. I'm not going to give undue credit to all of this was like a part of a plan. It was very accidental, and I think I was fortunate for the accident to be interesting.
Wow, that's cool. And what was the role? Were your parents like really sweating through all of this?
I think they were, yes. At least for my BSc time and first year of bachelor's and 12th standard, they were sweating because nothing was in order. Like I kid you not, absolutely nothing was in order. It was later when they saw me actually get passionate and serious about doing something, they put in their faith. And fortunately for them, their faith has not been completely destroyed. But bootstrapping the blog wasn't very expensive, so it wasn't like I needed a lot of money to really do this.
Yeah, yeah. And you also had a startup, no, on learning solutions. Tell
That's
us
right,
about
yes.
that. Yeah, yeah.
So that startup was the main thing I probably overcompensated with after my PhD failure and wanted to like make it big. That's also when I picked up Python. The goal was to optimize human learning in one way or the other. We tried a couple of ways. By we, I mean me and my business partner, who is also my best friend. He's in Bangalore right now. So both of us worked it out. We actually did not work it out in a way because it did not work out. But we did put in 3 years of effort trying to get something out. Then decided to create some algorithm which analyzes a web page completely and spits out information that is useful to predict good comprehension or good readability or good memory of seeing something. We tried that, but the data was not good enough. So we decided, you know what, let's shut shop here. This is not working out. We are spending more effort than we can handle, and we haven't solved any problem. So that was the end of it. It was a 3 year learning phase where we both learned a lot about how to make money, how to negotiate with people, how to get into the do-it-yourself grind, all of that stuff. It was exciting, but I think it was one of those necessary failures to give you a reality check of what you are able to do.
And one of the things that you also were trying to do was how to make learning music efficient, right?
Right. That is something I still do, and I don't formally teach people. I keep this small part of my life aside, which is always dedicated to optimizing music learning. So I participate in forums or threads and just casually volunteer help people to improve their musical learning ability. And I've written only one post on this. It's what I call the neuroscience of learning guitar. It's on my website and it gives you a certain guiding template to self-learn, because I don't think you always really need a teacher to learn. You can do it yourself on the internet, and if you have a couple of strategies in mind, learning strategies, you can do it yourself and really excel. It basically just applies, this is where applied psychology comes into picture. You apply learning principles to music in a way that a student can use it on their own terms whenever they want.
Aditya, there's a question here.
Okay.
How would you tackle people with more life experience to take your thoughts and ideas seriously?
Oh, that's actually exciting. And I think the solution I've been working on is to make my content and ideas stand for itself regardless of who has written it. So it's not necessary that I have to really showcase a PhD or a 10-year fellowship or some big prestigious award to just give credibility to what I'm saying, because I shouldn't be using it as a crutch. If the credibility is there, it should be a reflection of what I'm actually producing. So sometimes a lot of people did not take me seriously at the start of blogging, but now that the website is there, a lot of my content has been very well received. There are citations. It comes a lot easier. Even the ones who are far more experienced, far more knowledgeable than I, even in my own field, they would entertain it more often than not.
And
But it
there's
was
an,
a process.
I can imagine. I can imagine, and I think the fact that there's content that happens 2 to 3 times a month now, so there's
Hmm.
a huge amount of content that's got created. So you're
Right.
writing, I think just writing more and more also creates that credibility, right?
Right. Writing and I think improving. You iterate through versions of your own content. So I often go back and improve something I've already written just to make it better. And it's these people who don't take it seriously or pinpoint issues that actually give me the credibility for the next person who comes and looks at my content.
That's fabulous, Aditya. So Vedashri is asking, what are the things you want your readers to take away from your articles?
So most of my articles speak of broad principles that can be applied. So some articles are answering just one question. Some articles are putting many different insights together. So each article usually has 3 or 4 different points I want a reader to really understand. They're usually not written as summaries, they're usually written as tweet boxes, tweetable content. But every article has the goal of solving a problem or answering a question that is not answered well enough. So each article has a unique thing to take away from. So sometimes it's dozens of tips, sometimes it's really trending through one single point. But usually it's not the entire article. The entire article sometimes is also a build up and a context for that one single point, but that context is necessary for taking that single point seriously.
That's really interesting. And again, Ayushi wants to know, how do you share your energy and effort, prioritizing it towards different interests and ventures?
Okay, so I think intrinsic motivation, something that's a burning desire from within yourself, this sort of a thing has not drained my energy as such unless like a whole crisis is looming over me that okay my server has crashed. But you know what, even that moment, I don't think my energy goes away. I of course burn the candle on both ends, but that also keeps me excited because being on edge kind of gives me that drive again and again. It keeps me very active, like in a sense that I'm being challenged by my own activities and okay, I'm falling short a little bit and I have to now solve this problem. So I think the energy really comes from the way I'm looking at my work as something that's a part of me and not something that I have to do on the outside just for the heck of it. And I think good
It's
sleep also goes like the
so
long.
really clearly you saw, and
Hmm.
work is music,
Yeah.
music to his ears.
Yep.
So Aditya,
Yeah.
we just have a little bit left, and I
Okay.
do want our. So there's a Disha says, will you let us see your guitar skills?
Sure. Definitely. Let me just bring it.
I hope the network is going to be.
Yeah. Let's hope it
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
drop.
yeah, yeah. Wow. So Throne of Gaia is the group, the music band, and if
The
you go and
background was
visit
dialed
the
close.
Gaia's Throne, Gaia's Throne, I beg your pardon. How cool is that? Oh my God, look at that guitar. So all of you heavy metal fans, he's really a heavy metal band, and Aditya is deeply into science fiction And you should really read the concept of Throne of Gaia. Fascinating. Wow. Beautiful.
Thanks.
Thank you. And I have, obviously this is something that people are going to watch again and again, and maybe go back and look at Throne of Gaia performances and all of the accolades that your band has got for the
That would be awesome.
this is 6 years of doing the band, right?
Yeah, although the band is no longer functional, we stopped playing in 2016. So since then, I've just been a hobby musician. So you can go and check my Instagram for that.
Okay, we will do that.
Yeah,
We will do
thanks.
that. So we're coming to a close of this, like Ayushi says, an electrifying Monday morning.
Thanks, Ayushi.
It's still deep night hours, sleep hours for Aditya, but
Oh
he's
yeah, another 2 hours
another two
to
hours,
go
and
home.
he's very, very kindly come here at our time of 10:45 to be here with us on this chat.
That
And
was motivation for better habits.
so I think, I get very, very excited when I'm doing my research on my speakers, and I love the earlier conversations. But this one was particularly hard because I kept getting lost in the forest of Aditya's ideas. And I was like a little girl in a candy shop, like finding this very exciting, and should we talk about this and that? So I kind of had to be a little uh, content by just giving you a glimpse into a small glimpse rather into what cognition today, this creation of Aditya Shukla is. And he's very active on social media, so you should go and check out. And the whole aspect of being able to weave his many loves together, his ability to connect something and make it at a meta level, something that makes sense, being able to create that psychological distance to be able to deal with, like he says, the various hacks that we can use, whether it is to motivate ourselves, inspire ourselves, keep ourselves going. I think there's lots and lots of stuff for us to mull over Aditya's conversations today. And Aditya, this is so unsatisfactory for me letting you go at this point in time, but clearly a hook for all of us to go and take a look at what Cognition Today brings us. It calls for a tremendous amount of discipline to write, to process, to rewrite, the whole act of and the belief that I'm creating something that should be of value for someone, somewhere. Never mind if they don't know me, but I'm creating, doing something that's valuable. And I love the way he uses value. He talks about scale. He talks about really making it big. He talks about the efficiency of learning and learning optimization. So optimized learning, right? That was
That
your
was
topic.
a part, yeah, that was a part of my startup's name.
Yeah, which is
Optimized ways of learning. So we call
owl.
ourselves the owl. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Optimized ways of learning. So my audience, thank you very much for joining us, and I hope more people will watch this recording later.
Thank you for listening. Deepa,
Aditya,
you did a great job. You had a lovely conversation. Like it was so nice talking with you on air. Great questions. You shed so much light on work. Like I wouldn't have definitely said so much if you hadn't asked the questions. I'm really grateful for a lovely conversation.
and you're the shining sun, Aditya, like your name. So keep,
Oh,
keep on inspiring and shedding so much knowledge and
thanks.
passion for learning, thinking, cognition, and all of it to build a better world. So thank
Thank
you.
you. Now, I'd love to pick your brain too. You've been talking with so many people. There must be a wealth of knowledge inside your mind. We should probably have a small session or a big session with Deepa here.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And see you all again. Bye, Aditya.
Bye. See you. Thank you so
Bye
much. Have
bye.
a good day.
Take care.
Bye bye.